Welcome back to another video. Yes, this time we're heading to Khwai, one of our favorite places to go. As I'm sure you know by now, we were a little bit more loaded than usual. We had 3 friends with us, and of course that means extra tents, extra food. But even though we were loaded, the old Nissan Safari seemed to be doing okay. And I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler, it did do okay. But here we are, just approaching and going through the village of Shorobi. I love this little village. It's so spectacular with all these palm trees, so super cool. I love driving through here at sunrise. But before we go any further, stop the video. I want to say and give a big shout out to Jim Green. This is not a sponsored video, but they booted us out. Yes, they provided me with a lovely pair of African Ranger barefoot boots. I love them, and you're going to see a lot more of those boots in our videos. They're so comfortable, really amazing. And they kitted my wife out with these lovely Ashley Ladies suede vellies. Vellies, I can't really say it properly, but it's a lovely brand. We really appreciate them supporting such a small channel like ours, and we want to give them a shout out. So you'll find a link to the website below, and thank you so much, Jim Green. Ooh, look at those nice boots. But yeah, needed to tighten up these wheels because I had taken my vehicle to have the wheels balanced, and they didn't really tighten the bolts when they put it back together again. So tightened things up and continued on our corrugated road to Khwai. And here was our first sighting, a lovely herd of elephants crossing the road. But yes, this first 20 kilometers up to the veterinary gate is always horrible. But at least you can always tell yourself that this is the worst section. It doesn't get worse than that first section, in my opinion anyway. The road gets better, and the section from Mababi to Khwai is a bit also bumpy, but at least there's lots to see in that area, so it's super cool. A little stop to make sure nothing had fallen off the roof, and we're on our way again. And it wasn't much longer than we came up to the village of Sankuyu. Now, Sankuyu is probably the last village that you're going to find any kind of domestic animals in the village. Your next village is Mababi. The most you're going to see there is domestic dog, but there won't be any more, goats or chickens. And that section from Sankuyu to Mababi is full of wildlife. So if you're driving this route, keep your eyes peeled, because it is very likely you can spot something pretty cool. Here we are once again checking out to make sure nothing's falling off your roof. You'll be surprised at the amount of things that fall off vehicles on this road. Often on Facebook you'll find people who have discovered tires, tents, mattresses that fall off. So make sure things are tied down well, and look out, maybe you'll find something lying on the road. This is the little detour Mababi. As I think I've said before in videos, you don't have to take the detour. If the river is low, you can actually skirt around the edge. But we used the detour as an opportunity to stop by the hippo pool and make ourselves a cup of coffee. I think this was about 9 o'clock, so a perfect time for morning coffee, and it was nice having the hippos there to watch. Perfect. Not quite coffee with the lions, but some compromise must be made when you're traveling. Can't be lions everywhere. It was quite surprising to see how low the water was at Mababi. In fact, this whole trip we noticed how low the rivers were, even in Khwai. But it was also surprising to see when crossing the Mababi bridge here that the water was still flowing. It looked so dry, but it was nice to see that there was still a little bit of flow, in the rivers. And so here we were heading to Khwai. But this is the notice that has been put up on the Tsar campsite. If you want to read that, you can pause it. But before we go on, we stop by the Mababi hyena den. This is just off the main road, the Mababi hyena den. There was nothing going on there. They probably were using it, but there were no hyenas when we stopped by. They were probably sleeping either in their burrows or a little bit away from the den. But we headed on, and it wasn't long before we arrived at the community concession of Khwai. And so, as is our habit, we dropped down to the Mokhotlo area, and this is the dead tree area that you would initially drop down to, passing this really beautiful big tree. But as you drop down, you'll notice all the dead trees. And we always drop down here because some years ago we dropped down and we found a leopard walking around at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is really late for a leopard to be walking around. So it just shows you never know what you're going to find in the morning. But it was really nice to drop down and just see so much game moving around. Even though it was really, really dry, there was plenty of game moving about. But I always think when you drop down to Mokhotlo and drive that section, it gives you a sense of just how busy Mokhotlo area is. And I think you'll always find that Mokhotlo is quite a busy area. But here we are, crossing the Mabudi River. The majority of the crossings, I think actually all the crossings, are actually on the Mabudi River, not on the Khwai River. The Mabudi joins the Khwai River, and actually this crossing is right by the junction of the Khwai and Mabudi River. So if you want to find it, if you want to use a crossing, this is the crossing we used. And it was very hard, and in fact throughout this trip we crossed that crossing numerous times, as you'll see in the videos. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, this is just part one of this Khwai trip. We made it into two parts because there was lots of activity. And I don't know, let me know what you think about the length of videos. And by the way, this is lion tracks, and we found these lion tracks very soon after crossing the river. And the area, they call it Barbara Pan. But it's so nice to see lion tracks around. You just know the lions are around, and all you need to do is find them. So it was super cool to see those lions around. Well, the lion tracks. But yes, as I was saying, let me know what you think about the length of videos. Personally, I love watching really long format videos, and I know there's many out there who prefer shorter format. So let me know, what do you think is the perfect length of a video? This video, as you can see, is like 38 minutes, and it's in two parts. It would have been over an hour long if I'd made it into one part. So normally I make long format content, but this time we made two shorter formats. This was just at the hyena den, and this is interesting because there were no hyenas to be seen. But as you'll see later on in the video, we do come back here and the hyenas are all out their den. So just because you pass by the hyena den and there's no hyenas there, doesn't mean the hyenas aren't there. In fact, when we were there at the hyena den, I looked around the entrances and I could see tiny little baby hyena footprints. So I knew they were there, and so that's why we went back. And sure enough, when we went back later on, the baby hyenas were there, but more of that later. Here we are, arriving at our favorite campsite, Bakwa campsite. And as usual, I will leave all the links to that campsite below. Honestly, this is my favorite campsite. It's so quiet, so private, and there's always things happening around it. I mean, this trip we had hyenas running past, and a huge pack of them. Of course, we had the elephants through the camp, and you'll see later on, we even had a lion walk really close by the campsite through the night. So lots of game moves past this little campsite, but at the same time it's super quiet, super private, and I think that's a huge plus for any campsite. But on arriving, first things first, get unpacked, get camp set up. There was a little bit of a race going on with our guests to see who could put their tent up the fastest. Of course, we won because we should win by this time. We put this tent up enough. I don't know why we thought we were so competitive, considering that our guests had probably never put up a tent in their life. I think one of them had put up a tent before, but there we go. But tents up, we got everything sorted, get camp sorted, and then took a little walk down to the bathrooms to have a shower, get refreshed, and get ready for the afternoon game drive. My lemons. My lemons floating around.
I like your knife.
That's a nice knife, isn't it? Some sexy lady got it to me. With refreshments sorted, we head out on our first afternoon game drive, crossing the Mababi River, and not the Mababi River, the Mabudi River. We head towards Khwai and then take basically our first turn to the left, and then that kind of leads through to the hyena den. So if you know a little bit about that area, you'll know where we were. But yeah, we came to the hyena den. They still hadn't woken up yet, so we head out on our drive. I wanted to head back towards where we had seen those lion tracks, because I thought we could snoop around that area and see if maybe we could find them. One thing with your first game drive, or maybe your first two game drives, is you have no idea of what's been happening in the area. So you don't know where, and the lions are. Maybe they've made a kill somewhere. But yeah, lots of cheeky elephants, as you can see. There were so many elephants. It was very hard to drive around Khwai and basically sneak past them, because they were everywhere. They were basically around every corner. But they were very calm, very chill. All they would do when you drove past is kind of like flap their ears and let you know that they were there. Also, lots of waterbuck. I'm not going to lie, I did get a little bit tired of stopping for waterbuck. For some reason, my guests and our friends really had a thing for waterbuck, so we did a lot of stopping for waterbuck. They are very cute. The babies are very, very cute. They're so fluffy. But yeah, a beautiful afternoon game drive. But yeah, it's always good, these first game drives, really checking out the tracks, trying to get a sense of what's happening in the area. I always think the first game drives and then the first night, depending on what you hear, should give you a good indication of what's happening. But yeah, we made it back to the hyena den, and it was really good to see the little babies. They were so cute. There were basically a few different sizes. There was one that was like probably, 40 centimeters high, and then these two tiny little ones. So cute. On the way home in the fading light, I thought I saw some interesting tracks on the road, but it's always hard to see those tracks when it's a bit dark, so I just had to get out and check. Another very useful thing is to always carry your spotlight with you in your car, even if you're doing a daytime drive, maybe a morning drive. You don't know if you will ever get stranded somewhere and have to spend the night somewhere. So carrying a good torch in your vehicle with you is a very good thing to do. Stopped on the bridge just to have a look in the dark. So peaceful. The next morning saw us up early at around 5:30. Always get that coffee made. We always use the instant little pouched coffee for our first coffee of the morning. Having the hot water boiled the night before means we can just wake up, pour the hot water, have that coffee or just something hot to help wake you up as you leave camp at around 5:30 in the morning. So a little bit more complicated because of course we had our visitors with us. Not saying that they were a pain, just saying that it was a little bit more work. But no, it was lovely having them along. It's actually quite nice having others come with you on safari. You get to see the bush through their eyes. Sometimes we get so used to the animals around us that it doesn't have that same impact on us. But then when you take others with you and you see how excited they get to see a waterbuck, to see things, it's really cool. Here I am on the bridge with my torch. That was because right past camp, coming down our camp road, was these really fresh lion tracks. It was just one set walking down the road, and it looked like he came down by the side of the bridge. So we spent quite a bit of time this morning driving up and down, trying to find more of his tracks because he kept going off the road. So that's a lot of our morning was spent driving around following these tracks, but didn't see any sign of him. It's really difficult also on the main road because some of the vehicles head out very early in the morning and they cover over the track, so it's sometimes really difficult to track an animal even if the tracks are quite fresh, because there's a lot of traffic on that main Khwai road. Well, driving an old car like ours means you stop often just to have a look, make sure nothing's falling off, make sure the exhaust isn't falling off, the engine isn't falling out, oil isn't leaking. But everything was fine, and so we continued our morning game drive. What a beautiful morning it was. Sun rising, absolutely beautiful. The one thing about an early morning drive, and something that we really love, is the fact that the animals are so full of energy. And this herd of impala were just bouncing, literally bouncing back and forth. And we spent a considerable time there just watching those little impala bouncing around. Really, really cute. And sometimes it is just the small animals that really entertain us. So yeah, that was super cool. So this is us now crossing again, the same crossing that we crossed coming in. Now that is the Mabudi River, and we're crossing now towards the Mokotlo side, and basically now we're looking for a little place to stop and have our morning coffee. This is us just arriving at Matsweri Pan. is what everybody calls it, but I call it Austin's Hippo Pool, after our good friend Austin, who, I mean, he's still around, but he loved this area. I feel like every time he came to Khwai, we would spend our time snooping around this pan and the river crossings. Some very cool birds. Let me know if you know the name in the comments below, and I'll let you know if you're right or wrong, or maybe you will let me know if I'm right or wrong. But yeah, leave a comment about the birds. But yeah, this is our stop for our coffee. We stopped by the pan. It's a lovely little spot. We've stopped here before. I think in one of our previous videos, this is where we stopped, and there was that really large herd of buffalo just at sunrise. I got some really beautiful photos from that early morning. But after coffee was had, or rather not completely finished because we take it with us, we set off to continue our drive. And yeah, the little Nissan Safari doing quite well. Feel kind of bad for our guests. Our friends in the back, they were a little bit squashed, but that's the price of coming on safari with us. We squeeze you in wherever we can fit you, and we squeeze them all into the back seat. But I think they were okay. I hope they were okay. But yeah, lots of elephants, as I've mentioned before, which is really cool. Well, with breakfast time quickly approaching, we turned ourselves around and started heading back to camp. But there's so much to see that even though you're taking it slow, heading back to camp, you end up taking even more time because you have to stop, look at the giraffes, look at the other little animals, which is how it should be. A lot of people rush around on game drives, and really it's not about rushing around. You really just need to stop and take a look at the smaller things, like this tortoise. Sometimes we can fall into this trap of trying to find the leopard, find the lion, and then you drive past so much amazing animals and amazing scenery in the search of the lion, in the search of the leopard. The lion and the leopard, while they are super cool to find, and let's not make any bones about it, it's one of the things we're always looking for. It's not the only thing to be seen, and even the plants and the shrubs and the footprints, they all add to the experience. And I think it's important to slow down and take the time to look at the footprints, to look at the different plants, and you find that you really enjoy your drive even more than usual if you do that. Back at camp, it's time to get breakfast cooking. First things first, get that fire going. And one thing I do like about this little campsite here at Khwai is that they always provide you with firewood. And I think that's really nice. I never worry about taking firewood to Khwai because I know that the lovely team here at Khwai campsite will have you covered. They come daily, they clean away the ashes, and they make sure you have firewood. And so I think that is, a super good thing. And 5 stars for them. But yeah, little change in breakfast. Normally it's bacon and eggs. I had these cheese grillers that I decided to give a try. I don't know how I feel about them. Let me know if you've ever made scrambled egg with cheese grillers. But as you can see, we've got our baked beans. Yep. Thanks for all your comments on the last video, your feelings about baked beans. They're still going strong in our campsite. But yeah, breakfast is a very important meal of the day, especially after a long morning drive. Breakfast was interrupted by this old bull elephant who kind of wanted to walk into our campsite. So I just had to shoo him away, and he actually just walked around the edge of the camp and started drinking water in the river in front of us. So it was fine. But yeah, sometimes it's okay to have your elephants come through the camp, but you can always just shoo them off if they get too close. It's rather good to be safe than sorry. Just had a nice shower and going to walk back to camp. Got some friendly elephants, so all good. Let's go.
The elephant nearly got us.
Almost got us, but we got away.
There's more.
As you can see, lots of elephants around camp, and this is a good reminder. Always be observant, be careful, and respect these animals. They are wild animals, and they will come very close to your camp, and they don't mean any harm. They're actually really gentle animals, but yeah, just give them some space, and you will be okay. They didn't give us any problems at all, and it was nice having them around the campsite. Well, this afternoon's game drive probably was one of our best game drives we've ever had. It turned out to be a super cool drive, but it started very mundanely with us going to the village of Khwai, because one of our friends wanted to see what the village of Khwai looked like, and so we did a little drive through the village. We drove up to the Moremi Gate. Here you cross North Bridge. A little bit of water flowing under there, so that's nice to see. But as mentioned earlier, this was the lowest we've ever seen the water here at Khwai. So hopefully the water comes, and we've had not very good rains this year, so hoping that these rivers will get a bit of water later on in the year. Well, if you've been to Khwai before, you'll probably recognize this bridge. It's a bit of a landmark. I've actually only once seen water under it. It's mainly dry, but it's a useful landmark to know when given directions or receiving directions in Khwai. So between the Khwai River Camp, which is a Belmont camp, and the Machaba Lodge, is this large open floodplain. And you can see us driving through it here. Many of the guides, they refer to this plain as dollar pan. So this is dollar. But we found this beautiful elephant bull, and he had some magnificent tusks. It's not a common sight to see an elephant with tusks this size. So that was really special, and he was super chill. We just followed him for a little while, and soon we head into this little forest, and we saw one Machaba vehicle parked there on the road that we were driving on, and there, lying in the grass, was this absolutely beautiful leopard. And this was such a stunning sighting, and was really, really special. We were so focused on the leopard that we didn't even notice that he had a impala that he had killed up in the tree. And this was a beautiful sighting. I mean, you can see him there munching on his impala. And as a result of his kill there, he stayed around here for the next part of our trip. And so we were able to visit him on a few occasions. But after a while, more and more vehicles started arriving, so we left to celebrate with some gin and tonic.
What did we just see?
We just saw a leopard,
And-
as you saw.
And how do you feel?
Very good. We're celebrating, having snacks and gin and tonic.
Yay.
Yeah.
The rays, sun rays.
Well, after Sundowners, with the sun sinking, we decided to head out and see if we could go and spend some time with the hyenas. I think we all really love hyenas. Both me and my wife. Hyenas are very special to us. Some people really don't like them. So yeah, let me know again in the comments your thoughts on hyenas. But I think there's something really special about going to a den and watching the young ones play, seeing the adults come in. You see so many interactions, and anytime you can spend time watching animals interact with one another is super, super beautiful. It's a beautiful experience, because most of the time when we see animals in the wild, they're often just, eating or sleeping. And so visiting them at like a den is beautiful, because you see this like family interactions, you see the babies playing with the parents. So yeah, super cool. Well, after spending considerable time with the hyenas, watching them playing and frolicking around their den, it was time for us to head back to camp and get some dinner going. Well, after a lovely dinner of steak and garlic bread, we set off to set up our trail camera. Now, you'll remember from the Naipan video, we didn't have much success with our trail camera, so I was really hoping that this time we could at least get something on our camera during the night. And happily, we did see something. Even if it only was an elephant, it was still super cool to see on the trail camera. He just hanged around a bit. It's interesting how they can sense that the trail camera is there. Well, this is where we're going to end part 1 of our Khwai video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've got this far, as is our custom now, please leave a comment, let us know. And I just want to say thank you so much for all your support, all your likes, all your comments. Thank you so much. We appreciate. Bye!